So far, we learned about the triggers that are fired when somebody pushes the button or another program calls the Power Automate flow. We learned about the triggers that are running on a schedule. Now it's time to learn about the triggers that they run when something happens outside Power Automate. More like when you go fishing. So when the fish bites, you either hear something or you see something. Regardless, let's do it by example. For this demo, I want to create a flow that sends email notification when a file is added to a SharePoint folder. So basically, we are monitoring a SharePoint folder using Power Automate. When a file is added to it, it should do something. And the only thing that we have learned so far to do is sending an email. I call it a useless flow because we are basically replicating the SharePoint alerts. Of course, we can do a lot more with these kind of triggers, but wait till we learn about the actions so we can do something useful about it. To run this, I need two things. First, I need SharePoint and a library and a folder to monitor. I also need a flow that can monitor it and send me an email. So let's start with SharePoint. Inside SharePoint, I've created a library called Demo Library. Let's click on it and see what we have there. As you can see, it's an empty library and there is nothing in it. You can use basically any library or any folder inside any library. At the moment, I'm just watching one library, the root folder, to show you how this kind of trigger works. So when you have it, let's get a copy of the URL of the site. I go back to Power Automate, flow.microsoft.com, and it's time to create our flow. I click on Create, and these flows are called automated flows. So I click on the automated flow. This flow is going to fire when something is happening inside SharePoint. You have a big list here, but list is a lot longer than that. So if I click on Show More, you will see even a bigger list here. And if I click on Show More, still you can see a bigger list. So I would say literally there are hundreds of items here, but at the moment I would say I pick up SharePoint, file, created. So when a file is created in a folder, as you can see, there are other options too. There is also, when a file is created, properties only. When a file is created or modified, when an item is created, when a file is created or modified, properties only. So basically, there are multiple triggers that the only difference between them is what events they are sensitive to and what they bring to your Power Automate when the event is fired. So at the moment, I don't want to get into the details of it. We will get there when we can actually do something with the information that we get from triggers. So don't worry about it. If you're following, pick up the very first one when the file is created in a folder, which is the simplest one to work with. Don't forget to give your flow a name. So I would say copy SharePoint alert. And I click on create. So my flow is created and I want to put the URL of the website here, copy and paste. It doesn't work because it's searching. So don't forget, if you want to paste the URL, first you need to click on this drop down and you click on enter custom value. If you use the website once, you will see the URL here. At the moment, let's assume that you are doing it the first time with me. I click on enter custom value and I just paste the URL of the site. As soon as I do it, Power Automate makes a connection to SharePoint Online. Now I can pick up the folder. So if I click on this folder icon, I can find the library that I want to work with. I am working with Demo Library. If I click on this button, it shows me whatever that is inside it. I really don't need that. I just go back again and I select Demo Library itself. I'm actually monitoring the root folder. If I click on Advanced Options, I can say infer content types, assuming that the file has content type and we want to work with it. I really don't want to get into it because at the moment what matters is we want to understand how this trigger works. So just don't touch anything. We picked the site URL and the folder ID. We get into the advanced options in the later chapters. As you can remember, still I cannot save it because there is no action. So let me click on the new step, and just like before, send email. And I'm continuing until you get sick of sending emails. Let's continue. Send an email, and I want to send it again to myself. And I click on this one. Subject is going to be file is added to demo library. And here I can add the information that I want. So the information that I want to add here is going to be a file is added to library. All right. Do you also want the file name? That's an interesting part, but let's get into it after I test it first. I click on save. So far we created a basic flow that when a file is added to a SharePoint library in a certain folder, in this case in our root folder, it sends an email and it tells me that the file is added to that library. Great. So let's go to SharePoint and test it. So I go to SharePoint. I have a test file. I just drag and drop the file here inside the demo library. Then we go back to our mailbox and see what happened. But before I go to the mailbox, I want to see if the flow is actually fired. So let me get back to the flow designer. I click on this icon so I can go back to the properties of this flow. I click on this one. Okay. And still I don't see any run history. If I click on this refresh again, nothing happens. Again, nothing happens and nothing happens. Now, here is the thing to remember. When you add a file to a list or library, for these automated flows, it's not going to happen immediately because SharePoint does not send a message to flow. Your flow, based on some certain intervals, get back to your SharePoint and checks if the file is added. And that time difference can be anything between 2 to 3 minutes for a paid version to something around 15 to 20 minutes for the free version of Power Automate. So waiting is the game. I can click on refresh again and nothing happens. Again, nothing happens. So we just wait. I pause the record and I get back to it when I see the file. And finally, here I have it. If I click on it, you see the execution is complete and the email is sent. Let me get back to my mailbox and I can see a file is added to library. Perfect. We need a little bit of more information. Now let's get back to Power Automate and see what we get out of it. So let me get back here and I click on edit. If you remember, I wanted to add the file name here. So if I put my mouse cursor here, I should be able to find a little bit of more information about this file, which Power Automate doesn't show me anything here. This is the tricky part. Let me scroll up and I just add another control here. Let me click on this plus sign. I just want to add an action right before this email. And I go back to my magical debugging control, compose. You remember that? Great. So I click on compose and I want to click on here and see what this trigger really offers. And I can see a lot more items compared to what I wanted to add to my send email. That's the interesting part because when you're using compose, compose is basically gets an object. So any property that is available from a specific action or trigger is displayed here. We have the file name, we have the file identifier, we have the file content. Hey, it also gives us file content. Fantastic. So So basically, everything that this trigger offers can be captured here. So we actually have the file name. So then why, when I come here, it doesn't show me the file name? Let me scroll up. I just have file identifier, file entity tag, and file content type. I need file name. And here is the reason. Because when you're sending an email, Flow tries to remove the clutter out of the list that you are working with and tries to guesswork and find the best fit for you, mainly based on the data type, while we know that we have the value. So two ways around it. So one simple way is that if I use Compose, I can put the file name here, and then when I come here, I can say the file name is, and I can just get the output from Compose. This is one easy way, but it requires an extra action in between. While I really don't need to do that. When I was working with Compose, I knew that file name is here. So when I come here, when the designer doesn't show me the name, I can simply type in the file name or the property that I want to work with. So although it was invisible in the list, if I put the file name, it searches inside all the hidden properties. So I can click on it and I can add the file name. So once I add that, I really don't need this Compose. Let me just delete it and get rid of it so we have a nicer and cleaner flow. Let me just save it again. And let's add another file to our demo library. So drag and drop, the second file is added. And then I go back to my flow again. Let me go back to the run history. Again, the waiting game. Now, here is a second tip that I want to add here. When you wait for the run history and you don't see any result, there is a way that you can force Flow to go inside SharePoint and check if there is any update. Let me just check it again. Nothing happened yet. That way is very simple. Just click on Edit, save it, and get back here. You will see the run history. So basically, just by opening, saving, and closing it again, you will force Flow to check for an automated trigger, and you will get the results immediately. That way works pretty well, especially if you're working with free version. Let me get back to my mailbox and see what I got. And this time, it includes the file name. So we successfully ran an automated trigger, and we are ready to try another one. I want to show you another example of monitoring a mailbox when an email arrives.